Today's the day where React hooks have been released. I am eager to try it out and see how it plays out with D3 and data visualization. And also, React support is now built into VizHub. So let's take React hooks for a spin. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create something new. But instead of picking one of these, I'm going to go to my profile page and find that example with the general update pattern of D3 that has the animations and the interactions, because I want to see how hooks plays out with those. I think this was the one. Bowl of fruit, click to select. Yeah, this is the one. We've got the animations, and when you click, it changes. So let's try to recreate this, or rather migrate this to use React instead of D3 with hooks. So the first step here is to include React as a script tag on our page. And this is how VizHub works because it's based on rollup internally. You need to include the script tag on the page, and then rollup knows how to resolve the globals when you import it from React. So it's not using Webpack or anything. So we need to go to unpackage.com/React because I'm going to use unpackage. It's a great CDN. And if you go to unpackage.com/React, it gives you this common JS thing here. But what we can do is navigate around in here and find the UMD build, which is compatible with the browser. So react.production.min at 12 KB. That sounds good to me. So I'll copy this address and use this in our script tag. And we're also going to need React DOM. So I believe they're set up the same way with the same directory structure, and I could just say React-DOM. Let me see if that works. If I paste that URL. No, it needs to be React-DOM.production.min. There we go. All right, so this needs to be React-DOM. And now we get to import React. But first of all, things are going to be badly broken because I removed the D3 script tag. So let me just comment out all of our code. I'm just going to select everything and comment it out. Now we should be able to say import React from React. And let's just say console.log React, just to see if it's there. All right, oh my goodness, it worked. We have imported React. Now we can use React DOM to render something with React. So I just need to Google for a boilerplate for that. React.js.org getting started should do the trick. Let's see how their example in Code Sandbox looks. All right, we need to import React DOM from React DOM like this. And let's console.log React DOM to just double check that everything's there. All right, looks good. There's .render. And this is the magic right here that I was looking for. I'm going to copy and paste that. And what it does is it says document.getElementById root. And we're going to render things into there. I don't think that exists over here. So in our HTML, I'm just going to say that this SVG is called root. ID equals root. All right, now that ID is equal to root, we should be able to select this in our code. And app is not defined, so let me just define it right here. Const app equals, what should this be? I think I'll just make it a circle for now. We should just be able to say circle, like this. This is an SVG circle, so we should be able to say R equals, let's say 10. And let's see, what's going on? Okay, we got this error, minified React error. If I click this link, it says, okay, the element type is invalid. I expected a string, but got an object. Oh yeah, well, that makes sense. This app needs to be a function that returns JSX. Oh man, I think it's working. Look at that, we got a tiny little circle. Let me make the radius 100. Okay, check it out. We're coding in React. All right, this is awesome. Let me clean up this console.log. And now we can go about reproducing that thing we had before with the circles. I think we're going to want to use this logic here that makes the fruits. So I'm going to uncomment that, and it's using range from D3, which is a useful thing to have. So I'm going to import range from D3, put that import at the top. So I need to bring back the D3 script tag in index.html. So I'm going to go to unpackage.com/D3 and just get back that URL. And then we'll set up a new script tag where the source is equal to that D3 URL. And then our code should run. So just to recap what we had before, we've got make fruit takes as input a type. It returns an object with type and a random ID. And we're just going to make, looks like 5 apples, and that's going to be our fruits. So I'll bring this code up to the top so that we've got all our clean code at the top and all our dead code at the bottom. And then we've got this render function. And I think there's some good stuff here that we're going to want to reuse. So let's see, what is this doing? It's calling our fruit bowl component with our fruits and some props. So why don't we just use React for this? So instead of looking like this, this can actually be our app. And our app can return a fruit bowl, which we haven't created yet, but we will. It'll be a fruit bowl component. And the props, I'm just going to copy from here and delete the rest of this code. So I'm going to paste it in here, and we're going to need to reformat this to be JSX. So we're going to say fruits equals fruits, and that we need to get that in scope. Height is going to be the height attribute of our SVG, which, you know, why don't we just define that in code? That'll be easier. So I just cut the width and height definition. I'm going to paste that into here. Let's just define width and height to be numbers to begin with. Const width is 960, const height is 500. All right, so now height can just be height from here. And then we've got on click and selected fruit. I think let's just deal with those later. I'm going to comment that out. Then I'll just clean up this JSX. And fruits is not in scope here. So app is going to be our root. So I'm going to make this function with a body and then return that JSX at the end of this function. And I'm going to define fruits inside of this function component. And this is going to eventually be part of our state that we can use hooks for. So I'm going to paste this code here. Make fruit can be defined outside of our app because it's sort of a helper function. All right, so we've got some code that should run. I've got this extraneous circle code there. I'll delete that. Fruits and selected fruit should eventually be part of our state. But for now, let's just get this to run, get something to show up. So let me import fruit bowl from fruitbowl.js. All right, import fruit bowl from /fruit bowl, which will go to here. And I know I'm going to need to import React over there, so I'm going to copy that import statement, paste it over here. And instead of exporting fruit bowl, this function here, I'm going to export an uppercase version of this that returns JSX. So this is going to take as input props, which is the React convention. We can unpack the props. And then here's where we do DOM manipulation with D3, and we can just do it with React instead. So I'm going to go about refactoring this code here to use React. And hopefully in the end, the circles will show up. So what we want to do is make it so that for each fruit, there's a circle. So we can say return fruits.map so that for each of our fruits, we can return a circle. This should work. Let me just make it a little more formatted. And let's see, with D3, we use the key function, which maps D to D.id, and D is fruit in this context. So React has a similar concept where things that are mapped over need to have keys. It's the exact same concept between D3 and React. And we can do the same thing where we can say key equals fruit.id. This will make it so that React doesn't complain about not having a key. And then we can just set all of these attributes, like cx is going to be x position, cy is going to be height over 2, like that, and then r, the radius, is going to be, well, this code is initializing it to 0 so that we can do the transition, but ultimately it's going to be this here. Radius scale of the type of fruit. So let's do that in JSX. We can say r is equal to radius scale of fruit.type. I think we covered this code here, so I'm going to delete that, move on to the rest. We're going to set the fill to be color scale of fruit.type. The stroke width we can set to 5. And in React, I think it will not like the dash, so we can just do a camel case like this. And then what else? The stroke. Let's set the stroke to be this ternary statement. It's going to be fruit.id is equal to the selected fruit. If that's true, use black, otherwise use none. Okay, that looks good. That feels like it could be cleaned up a little, but I'll just leave it for now. And then finally, we've got this onClick, which we'll implement later with React, in the React way. And these transitions, I'll just comment that out for now, and then see how it plays out later. And then we need to just close out our function. And this, I think, should be working. Let's see what's breaking. Okay, syntax error. Index.js, line 21. Let's have a look. Okay, there's an extra comma. All right, there's no more runtime errors. Let's see what's in the DOM. Oh, the SVG has its default size. Right, because we took it out of the attributes. We need to set it again in the attributes. This makes me think that maybe it wasn't the best idea to have the root element be the SVG. So let me just change that, let's make the root element a div instead, so that we can use SVG in our JSX, and then we can set the width and height attributes via JSX. All right, now root is a div, and then app should return an SVG element on the outside. So I'll wrap up our fruit bowl in an SVG, and now we're in a position to set the width and height here. So I'm going to set width equal to width, which is defined up here, and then the same thing for height. Height equals height. And now we get a circle. Look at that. But I thought there was supposed to be 5. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, X position expects I, the index in the array, as well. So we can just pass I into the place where we're using it, X position. Oh, we need to actually pass the fruit and the index. So let's use that. Let's use the index. When we call map, it passes us the element and the index. So we can pass the element and the index into the X position function. All right, now they spread across the screen. All right, now we're in a position to start using hooks. So what I'd like to do first is make it so that when you click on one of these, it will show itself as selected with the black stroke around it. So we can use the state hook for this. So at the top level in our app, I think this is where I'll put this state. We've already got selected fruit is null. So how about this? Let's say const selected fruit and set selected fruit equals use state. And we need to pass in the default value, which is going to be null in our case. There's going to be no selected fruit in the beginning. And we need to import use state from React. So import use state like that. Now I'm pretty sure, I'm just going from memory here. I'm pretty sure that's the right order. Let me just quickly look up about hooks. There it is. Yeah, count and set count is use state of 0. And then when we want to change the state, we can just call set count with count plus 1, and it will, you know, change the state and re-render. So let's give it a spin. But wait a minute, how are we going to know if it's working? Let's just make it select one of the fruits in the beginning, you know, from the outset. So instead of the initial value being null, let's set it to be the ID of the first fruit. So we could say fruits at index 0 dot ID. And we want this to render the first fruit as, you know, selected with the black outline. To do this, we're going to have to pass in selected fruit to our fruit bowl. Selected fruit equals selected fruit. Pretty slick how the hook, you know, you can just pass things down like that. All right, now wait a minute, we're already using it. Look at that. All right, it's got that stroke showing that it's selected. Okay, so now when I click on some of these other ones, I want to set the selected one to be the one that we click on. And I'm going to have to do that from within our fruit bowl component. So why don't I just pass in set selected fruit as well down through the props. So now inside of our fruit bowl.js, we can unpack that from the props as well. And then we can bring back the on-click that we had earlier. It doesn't seem to be there, so let me just type it up. We could say on-click equals, this can be a function that doesn't need to take anything as input because we already have the current fruit in scope in this closure that we're, you know, inside of our call to .map. So in the body of this function, we can use fruit.id, and we can pass that in to set selected fruit. So we just set selected fruit and pass in fruit.id. The moment of truth, if I click, didn't work. It made it so there's no selected fruit. Let me see what's going on. No errors in the console. I don't know, I think that should be working. Let me go ahead and debug it. At the top level, let's just console.log selected fruit. All right, we're logging out the selected fruit. This is the first initially selected one, and if I click, it does change. Wait a minute. We're getting random IDs every time. Ha! All right, so that's what's going on, is that we're making the fruits on each render. That's crazy. So let me just take this out of here. Now it should work. See, the fruits now are defined once, and they're not going to keep getting redefined every time with different random IDs. So now if I click, all right, it works. It works. All right. So that's hooks in action, part 1. Part 2, we're going to have to deal with these fruits as part of our state. Well, I guess in such a small example, it doesn't really matter. But just for the sake of consistency, I mean, what if we wanted to, like, delete a fruit, for example, you know? We don't want to have this, like, global fruits object, so let's use hooks here as well. So let's say const fruits. And I'm not going to use I'm not going to use set fruits yet. So we're going to say use state, and then we can pass in to use state the initial state. So we're passing in d3.range of 5.map make fruit apple, and that will be our fruits. And this is, I think this should work now. Oh, we've got a unexpected token. Oh, missing a parentheses there. All right, now it works. Okay, great. So the moral of that story is, whatever you pass into use state the first time is used as the state. initial state. All right, awesome. I'll just clean up this a little bit so it doesn't wrap. And I'll get rid of this console.log. All right, so that's basically how you can use React hooks to add interactive things to your SVGs. I'm so thrilled about this because all this time I've been trying to sort of emulate the patterns of React with D3 and sort of ended up at this component pattern that I invented myself that wasn't like a community standard really. But now that React support is built into VizHub and hooks are there, which makes React like so much more appealing to me. Hooks are so much more elegant, I think, than the classes. Now that conditions are right, I think I'm just going to use React all the time for visualization work and only drop down to D3 when it's critically required, like for brushes and animated transitions. So there we have it. Thanks for watching. Take care.